This is Space Engineers! I'm Eustace the Monk. I've been playing Space Engineers for quite a while. I've racked up, around 40 to 60 hours playing it already. And I decided to finally do a video on it. So what is Space Engineers, in case if you don't know? It's essentially a building survival game in space, or on a planet, or on the moon, or on Mars. That's part of why Space Engineers is so incredible. You can really play this game however you want. The base game has you concerned about oxygen to breathe, hydrogen as fuel for your spacesuit thrusters, power for the spacesuit, and health. You don't really want any of these to drop to zero, otherwise you'll die. Well, except for the hydrogen part, then your thrusters won't work and then you'll just drift around until you commit suicide. Apart from that, you need to keep your base or ship powered so that your medical center and oxygen makers keep working. There's basically two ways of doing that. You can build solar panels and be worried about where the sun is all the time, or you can build nuclear reactors to generate power. You can also build batteries to store power in case of emergencies, like if you decide to go with solar panels and the sun's not shining on them. I always like to build reactors rather than solar panels, so I'm not worrying about that kind of thing. But that means that I have to keep an eye out for uranium to mine to keep everything going. And that brings me to mining, which is a big part of the game. You mine up ore from asteroids or places on the planets, toss it into your refinery here, and refine it into usable material. The physics in space seem pretty realistic to me. I'm hardly an expert though. So when you're mining, your ore breaks off and flies around, meaning you're gonna get good at chasing lumps of ore around in zero gravity. I'm forced to wonder about the little specks flying around that might pierce the hull of a spaceship or crack a windshield of a passing ship. It's like, maybe, you're in space all by yourself, a pariah, because no one likes space engineers, because they're always mining and making hazards to space travelers in their wake. You gotta wonder about that kind of thing. Persona non grata in the cosmos, the fucking space engineers. Well, why would you do this? Well, you're a space engineer, so you're always building stuff. There's so much you can build in this game, it's just amazing. Refineries, factories, different kinds of ship engines, beacons, cameras, pistons and doors, and just the list goes on and on and on and on. Here I am building my first small ship that I'm going to use as a little mining ship. You can mine things by hand with your hand drill, of course, but this is going to extend my range and be able to haul more ore back to the base. You always start with a starter landing gear for the ship you're building, and you need a cockpit, some reactors, a gyroscope, and some engines. And you'll need engines pointing in every direction because when you put the gyro on the ship, it'll try to automatically decelerate and maintain position in space if it can thrust in each direction. If you forget to put a thruster for a given direction, or you damage a thruster to where it won't work anymore, your ship won't be able to correct for that direction, and your life really begins to suck shit because your ship starts to drift around and you have to swing around to get the damn thing to stop. So here I've got everything all built up, and I'm seeing that this big thruster I put on the ass end is overloading the two reactors I have going. Yeah, that's great. The building system for this game is literally so intricate that each ship needs to go through a few trial runs, where you'll replace parts and move parts around so that it's perfect. So I can either replace the big thruster with little thrusters, or I can put more reactors on the ship. And here's the ship after I've worked on it some more. As it turns out, the mining module collects so much ore that it takes a dozen trips to the refinery and back to empty it, which is a pain in the ass. One of the really amazing things about this game is that you can build just about anything, so I can put a chute on the bottom of the ship and dock with the refinery so I can offload the ore into the refinery directly. You're not doing all this full frontal engineering by yourself, though. There's space pirates buzzing around who want nothing more than to shoot and murder you. Probably because your mining activities are breaking off little hunks of rock, they're breaking holes, and they're passing spaceships. You have to be careful not to cross their path until you're ready. Luckily, they don't really come seeking you out in some of the scenarios, at least. There's planets you can visit as well, and you can start with a base on a planet instead of just out in space if you want. That's one of the really cool things about this game, is that you can play it just about any way you want, and almost everything is customizable. I enjoy playing on the space platform myself. The planet-based stuff seems less fun to me. And when you're on a planet, you're not really a space engineer anymore, are you? You're just kind of sort of a regular engineer, which is... You're still wearing a spacesuit on the planet, though. I'm not sure why that is. Also, the planet-based scenarios have some drawbacks apart from just being a regular old engineer. The ones with the space pirates, the pirates are really belligerent. They'll send worthless fighters over in an almost unending flood to try and destroy your base. I mean, you can hardly get anything done between the attacks. You'll be spending a lot of time reloading your anti-aircraft guns before another pirate fighter flies over. And that gets me wondering, though, if space pirates aren't a planet, doesn't that make them just regular pirates? Yeah, something to think about. And the AI is rather silly. There's no other way to put it. They just hover over your guns and get ventilated. Parts of their fighters raining down on your base actually do more damage than the fighters themselves, to be honest with you. Here goes my solar panel because of a fighter lingering over my base. You can also set up the planet-based scenario where you're just a lander like this one, but you have to be aware these cyber dogs and these other creatures will kill you too. Another incredible thing about this game is the music. I mean, the soundtrack is just amazing. Just listen to this for a second. All in all, Space Engineers is a fucking amazing game. I kind of made fun of the PlanetSide aspects of the game, but what makes the game so amazing is that you can play however you want. If you don't like the PlanetSide stuff, don't play it. If you'd rather play on planets, play that way. Do what you want. If you like building survival games and you don't have this already, you should definitely get it. Definitely.